Hello, everyone. I know that I want to just first thank you so much for being a part of our course tonight. When we talk about marketing, that's probably one of the hardest things for us to do when it comes to whitening. And tonight, I want to just ask you before we start to always have an open mind. The things that I want to share with you tonight are things that really are things that I have done personally myself. And I can tell you that I'm going to share things that I did that were great, that were really worked for me and are still working. And I want to share some things with you that maybe I tried and it just did not work. But most importantly, I want to just remind you that the things that I am saying come from the heart because I am a dental team member. I am a dental assistant and have been for over 34 years. But I really want to make sure that we don't, give you any fluff tonight. This is really things for you to walk away with. And if you can take maybe three or four of these ideas and implement them, then I've done my job. And I want to just also share with you that, as I go through all these slides are my patients. They have given me permission to use their slides. I always make sure that I get that. But if there's anything at the end that you would like to have for yourself, or again, anything that's mine is yours. I mean, I have no competition with, I train dentists that are even in 2 or 3 streets away from me. For me, this is about you doing whitening in your practice and most importantly, being successful. And I appreciate Ultradent and Catapult allowing me to talk about what I love the most. And tonight I'm going to be very black and white with you because if any of you've heard me before, you would expect nothing different, right? So I'm going to get on you a little bit because I know that everybody thinks they do a lot of whitening when they really don't. We could always be doing more. And again, going back to that, having an open mind for what I'm going to be telling you, I'm going to share with you honest, truthful ideas, but most importantly, numbers and how can we do more? And that's what this is about. When I was asked to give this, I had no idea out of all the webinars that I had done for Ultradent that this one was the most successful. But I think it was so successful because it was real things that we can do tomorrow to make a difference. And most practices, when they think about marketing, this is something that's so hard for us because we're running all day long. I mean, it is 8 o'clock and I saw my last patient at 6:30. I literally am still in my center here. And so I want you to know that I get it. And again, I walk the walk. I've been where you are, but I hope that it'll be simple for you. But we think about that again, that marketing and say, gosh, how can we market more? How can we do that? It really and truly starts with conversations. The one thing that I know is that, we can talk to the cows come home with patients, but if we could give you things that you can say, sometimes it's the verbiage, that we can memorize. Everything in dentistry is something that's repetition, I always say. But if we can give you some ideas of things in verbiage that you can utilize, you can take that and make it your own. But it's not so much a whitening problem, it's a conversation problem. And I will tell you that it is not that hard. Anything that I have done, you can do. The most successful whitening programs aren't built, really on expensive advertising. I have spent, being really honest with you, I made the biggest mistake I probably could ever make in my life. I let someone talk me into being a part of a magazine, and I thought, oh gosh, this is going to bring me so many patients. And of course, they gave me a phone to sign, and I'm half blind, the contract, and honestly, didn't read it thorough enough. So for 3 years, I was paying this person $1,000 a month with a 3-year contract that brought me one patient. One patient. Now, don't get me wrong. Anytime people can see your name over and over and over and over, it helps. But at the end of the day, I got one patient for all that money. And so that is something that, again, that was a hard pill to swallow. My husband wanted to divorce me over that. But really and truly, this is something that has to become a part of everything that we do in the office. And I'm going to share with you how to do it from the new patient exam, hygiene appointments, restorative consultations. And for those assistants that are watching tonight, it's going to start with you as well. We cannot wait on our hygienist to really bring up whitening because we are doing restorative all day long. And this is something that I know firsthand that the last thing that I ever wanted for patients was to look in the mirror and say, I wish I would have gone whiter. I've been that patient. I've never, ever had anybody tell me their teeth are too white. And so this is where I think we make this so hard when it is so simple. And so, what I want to do now is just kind of talk freely with you, but most importantly, I want you to share with me some of the troubles that you have or any of the hurdles. And again, I've been there. There's nothing that you have done that I haven't already done, probably four times over in trying to make it right. But I think I've pretty much perfected this. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am the busiest I've ever been. And I am going to share that with you tonight. It is not rocket science, and you don't have to pay me $30,000 to be your consultant to tell you the truth. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. The one thing that I wanted to start with, though, are some reasoning behind, because one of the things I know as a treatment coordinator, owning a office, is that patients would say to me, I want to think about it. And we're like, where did we go wrong? What would happen? They said yes. They were shaking their head, and we were talking about treatment and what they needed to do. And, remember the doctors would look at me, and I look at them, I'm like, yeah, we did everything right, and that was a great consult. And they would walk out and not do anything. Every one of us has that. Most of us have to have an understanding of why did that happen? Why are we not getting the case acceptance? Why are we not getting the yes? We do beautiful dentistry. We're working for amazing doctors. Why are they saying yes? I'm going to tell you, it's this simple. What we do is we encounter this mindset, these patients who are reluctant to do anything. They don't want to do anything. And it is not about money. I got people that pull right up in front of my shop that are driving a Mercedes and would try to talk me down on my whitening fees, which are very cheap. And I'm going to share them with you. And I can tell you, of course, I'm a sucker because I know how to, I want to make people happy. But most importantly, I know that I've sat where you are. People are reluctant to do this treatment. You're like, in your heart of hearts that this is something they need to do. They really have to do this, but they don't even see the urgency, and you don't understand why. I mean, I used to go home every night and be like, what did we do wrong? What did we say? Did we not show them something? Did it not register? Did we not show them videos? Did we not give them photos? But like crowns, veneers, composite bonding, patients will hesitate due to cost. They perceive this as necessary. And I think that's what you gotta know is necessary. Or fear that it's going to be so invasive, but this is what patients tell me. They tell me more now where I'm sitting than I've ever heard before in my years of being a clinical dental assistant. But what I know is that suddenly when we whiten their teeth, now I know all of you have seen these memes. Oh, I got, they really do have what, 12 millimeter pockets. I saw 9 millimeter pockets. They've got periodontal disease. Hey, I just want to whiten. Well, let me tell you, that's spot on. Now, am I telling you today to do that? No. I mean, I have a lot of protocols in my own office, but I can tell you that when we start thinking we've got this great treatment plan and we really didn't find out what they really wanted, we're never going to get anywhere. But what I have found is suddenly when we do the whitening, all the treatment plan that other dentists have treatment planned, including my own, they don't want to do. But when I do the whitening for them, they're like, Shannon, what do you think about these teeth down here? What do you think about this tooth? Should I really do that Invisalign? Wow, this composite filling didn't change color. I thought it would change. These crowns are ugly now, aren't they? They are ugly. I tell them the truth because the thing for me is you have to tell your team, you don't need to be ugly. You don't need to be, smart alecky when you come up with your comments. But I will tell patients the truth. And one of the things that I found is when I am brutally honest, because at the end of the day, and I learned this from Dan Fisher, he said, you know what, when you can lay your head down and know that you did the very best dentistry to offer, or you did the right thing, everything else is okay. And I will tell you, the more brutally honest I am with patients, the more dentistry they do. But there is something about whitening that gets them so much more excited about their teeth than they've ever had before. And those changes, they become more open, investing money that they never really, or you ever really thought they would invest. Do you know that I am a #1 referral to my orthodontist who has moved beside me? I send more cosmetic referrals to doctors, and I can tell you that it all starts with whitening. It doesn't make me any different than any of you that are on this tonight. But why does this happen? One of the things that I think happens is that this psychological, and I've always said this in dentistry, They don't give us psychology classes. It should be something we got to take first because let me tell you, these people, we never really know who they are, what they're dealing with. But that psychological aesthetic, that patient that says, look at this one little chip right here. No, no, no. It's like, oh my God, do you remember where you came from, right? You remember your photos of how your teeth used to look? These are those patients. But what I have found is now all of a sudden, we are making changes. All the things we were trying to get them to see and understand, whitening is the segue to all of that treatment, and it impacts everything we do. And this is probably the most significant clinical procedure you'll ever do for something that nobody really cares anything about. And that is something that we have to change because I can tell you, if they're not going to come to you, they're going to come to someone like me, really, actually, no one like me, because I am just like you. They're going to go to some pop up salon that's going to burn them or put cheap solution. And most importantly, tell them things that are not true. And that's one of the things I want you to understand. Or they're going to end up going to another doctor who maybe is running a special and you're going to lose them. And so if you're not going to do the whitening, who is? And so this is where I really and truly got to give you the black and white answer. If you're not offering it, where are these people going? And you are taking a chance of losing those patients, not just the patient, but the whole family. And we have to really give them what they want. Now, I'm not saying give them whitening on those patients who have caries, periodontal disease, haven't been to a dentist in years. No, that is not what I'm saying. But what I will tell you is this does alter patients, their attitude towards the dentistry that they really need to do. And I can tell you that they know that a wider smile, it creates an immediate improvement to them. When you think of these patients who have low self-esteem, especially teenagers, and we're going to get to that these patients feel more attractive. All of a sudden, they got different glasses on. They're wearing a huge smile. And when I take full face photos of people before and after, it is life changing. And I can tell you, I never, ever, and I say this all the time, I never got a hug for root canals. We never get loves and hugs and kisses from people who are in pain. But you whiten those teeth, you are the golden child. And that is something that I want you to experience. And that is something that, when we think about these things, it encourages them to pursue so many other things. We can change lives with just a little bit of bleach. That's what I want you to really think about. These endorphins, it's almost like releasing endorphins, and I don't want to compare it to a drug addict, but I can tell you, I know how it feels when I eat chocolate because I'm a chocoholic. It's the same endorphins when these patients are happy and they're excited about something that you did. And so I want you to really see that tonight. I hope that you'll gain that. This is going to be one of the greatest things you'll ever be able to offer. Why do you think now I am putting my whole life towards changing lives when it comes to whitening? And that is something that I want you to really think about. But, when we think about marketing strategy, the best marketing doesn't cost us anything. It's free. If you do this right. If every team member mentioned whitening to every patient on a daily basis, most practices would never need another whitening promotion. But the first thing we have to think about, and I'm going to talk to the doctors that are on this call tonight, you cannot expect me to talk about your dentistry if I don't have it. And I have a lot of team members that tell me everything. Listen, we're dental assistants and we love each other, and it is a sisterhood. They tell me about you. They tell me that you will not do whitening on them. You will not give it to them for free. I cannot talk about whitening if I don't have it. I haven't experienced it. And I'm not talking about giving me some gold trays or some advanced trays. I'm talking about letting me go through the whole experience, where you're taking the photos, you're documenting my shade, you are making sure that I go through the in-office whitening and that I'm doing the trays the way that I should, and also helping with sensitivity. And that's not what this is about tonight. But for those team members that say, Shannon, I can't whiten because my teeth are so sensitive, I want to help you through that because every person on your team has to have white teeth. It's important, but most importantly, they need to experience that before I can talk about your dentistry or even promote it. And if I've had pain and things are hurting and I have, I really and truly can't go through it, how am I, going to talk about it with patients? And let me tell you, I can help you control that. I have learned after whitening over 5,000 patients, we can control that sensitivity. And most importantly, I want your team to go through it, but I can't do it if I haven't experienced it. But this is free. The other thing is, this is what I hear all the time. And, before we dive into it, every week I meet patients on a daily basis. I ask them, what brings you to me? What brought you in today? How did you hear about me? Patients who actively are looking for whitening, I hear the same things over and over and over and over. Why do you think I am such an intricate part? I don't want team members opening up their own whitening center. I want you as a doctor and team to do this within your practice because you already have the patients. I have to go out and get those people. This is not easy for the people that are opening up and telling all these speakers that are telling everybody to open up their own office and do your own treatment. This is not easy. This is hard. But your patients for whitening are right there for the taking. You're just not mentioning it. And so this is something that, again, I hear over and over from patients. You know what they tell me? My dentist doesn't offer it. My dentist does trays, or my dentist only makes take-home trays, or my dentist only does these pre-filled trays, but they don't do in-office whitening. I also hear my dentist doesn't believe in it. My doctor says my teeth are white enough. My doctor says I'm not a good candidate. I can't tell you all the things that they tell me. I have built a whole library of excuses. Every person can whiten. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to change porcelain, and anybody tells you that, they're lying. That's not true. We can't put their head in the oven. But I can tell you that there have been patients that I've said, hey, that bonding is not going to change color with the whitening, and it's made a liar out of me. But I do want them to be ready because I don't want patients to hate me because I'm going to make sure they get their teeth white. But I take this very serious because at the end of the day, why am I successful? Because I treat it very serious. But what I want you to know is every person can whiten. These patients are not asking you for 10, 20 shades lighter, but if we do it right, we can get a good 4 to 5 real Vita shades, not a pop-up salon flashlight shades. I'm talking about real shades, but that comes from time and it comes from doing it right. And if you're going to do it halfway, you're not going to get the results that I'm getting. People say, Shannon, I don't get those results. Well, guess what? You're not taking it serious. You're not telling them to do it the way they need to. You're not doing your consult the way you need to, and you're not following Dan Fisher's guidelines for shades, A's, B's, C's, and D's. They should do this, 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 and this. But out of the gate, if you are not doing in-office whitening and take home, you're going to lose about 50% of those people that would do whitening because you know why? People don't want to do it at home. And when we do it in the office, we're only going to see about a shade and a half. We're not going to promise them the world. I had a lady last week that said, well, my dentist said that you were going to get 10 shades lighter for me. That's not true. That is not true. And I said, if that's what you expect, I'm not the person for you because it's never going to happen. Today, you're going to see a shade and a half, but you're going to go home and you're going to do the trays at home. I'm going to do my part, but you got to do your part. I am not a magician, but I can tell you that my patients get great results, but you got to do it. And what I found is the more time, and again, I'm not your consultant, you're not having to pay me 20, 30, 40,000, $50,000. The more time that your team spends with those patients, the more dentistry, especially if you got people that care about people. We're not in dentistry as assistants to make millions because it's never going to happen. We're not in dentistry as hygienists to make millions. Neither are you as a dentist. But the more time that I spend with patients, the more dentistry they're going to do. And I can tell you that. And I get to know them because guess what? The ultimate goal is not to do a one and done. We want to build that relationship, do more dentistry, and for them to send us the mother, the brother, the sister, the kid, I can't tell you, I get the whole family. For me, that's why I do besties. I do all kinds of different things, and we're going to talk about that. But most importantly, stop telling people they're not a good candidate. And most importantly, have an open mind to doing more than just pre-filled trays or custom trays. Because the longer they sit in your chair, and I know what you're going to tell me, and we're going to talk about chair time, the longer they sit in their chair, the more dentistry they're going to do. Let's talk about some of the things that we can do right out of the gate. The first thing is that we got to bring things up. We got to say, listen, you got anything going on? I know it's summertime. You get ready to graduate. Anything that I need to know about? I have trained so many hygienists from the time that patient sits in the chair. All right, before we start today, you got anything coming up, any special events that I need to know about? so we can make sure that we have those conversations because we're always running a special. Okay. And so these are the things that I think is really important. I can't tell you how many people come sit in my chair a week before they're supposed to do or supposed to have their wedding. I'm like, again, I'm not a miracle worker. You can't come see me 2 days prior to your wedding and expect me to, woo, wave a magic wand and give you those 10 shades. So this is where, again, having the verbiage, and you'll see that my slides are not branded. Why are they not branded? Because I'm going to give them to you. Because if you're sitting here and you're not going to do what I tell you, you're wasting your time. I want you to be able to take everything word for word. I know some people say, Shannon, your slides are wordy. They're wordy for a reason because I want you to be able to take every slide and whatever you like, you can copy. Now don't go out and teach lectures, but you know what I mean? You can copy it. But this is something where we as team members need to know the verbiage. Is there anything we can offer you to help make you feel prepared, confident? This is easy. But if I tell you what to say and you take those words and you put them in your own voice, you can make them yours. And that is something that I think happens a lot. The other thing is where we need to start is every treatment plan has to start with whitening. I'm a treatment coordinator. I've helped put together treatment plans for my dentist. I've taken a lot of treatment planning courses and I'm a dental assistant. The first line item is never ever, oh, we're going to do wax up. We got to do records. Okay, go and do your records. But the first step to treatment is we got to get a lighter tooth. There's no lab technician on the planet. And for someone who's had 6 rehabs, full mouth reconstruction, the lighter the tooth, the easier it is for the ceramist and the easier it is for you to use the cement where those teeth disappear. That's not rocket science. And that's really how I explain it to patients because I never want a patient to put a restoration in, especially in the smile zone, that they were saying to themselves after it's been cemented, I wish I would have gone lighter. Do you know how many people tell me that? I wish I'd have gone lighter, Shannon. I know, I tried to tell you. I wish I'd have gone lighter. Right now, I love that because the fact is that if we make that, and as a treatment coordinator, and if any of you treatment coordinators are on here tonight, or hygienists, sometimes the dentist is running in your room and trying to hurry it up, and then they go back to their patient that they're working on. I look at my doctor and say, listen, whitening first, right? Yep. All right, doctor, we're going to start with whitening on this patient. Yes, we are. You need to, again, be the backup person, right? Because what happens is we are really taming those patients to understand that whitening comes first. And what I want you to understand is if they're only doing 4, say they're doing 7 through 10 and we do whitening first, 7 through 10, do you think those teeth are going to stay white forever? Even though we chose a B1 or an OM3 porcelain on 7 through 10, these teeth are not going to stay this color forever. Whitening doesn't last forever. And so we're going to have to maintain it. And I can tell you that patients don't mind doing that. But this is the first step. And one of the first secrets that you got to do, free marketing first, right? This is something, again, we got to instill in our brain. And for the hygienists that are here tonight, I'm going to share with you, this is probably the easiest thing you'll ever do is make that shade a part of the new patient. And most importantly, maybe every other year, updating the shade. As we eat the foods, we know that right now, people say, oh, shit, I drink a lot of tea. I drink a lot of coffee. Coffee and tea are not even number 1 and number 2. It's reds, Tabasco sauce, barbecue sauce, red wine, cumin, the orange. Those are things that really come first. And we've got to have conversations with patients about maybe, this is maybe the reason. But I will tell you that the maintenance component we never talk about. Nobody talks about how do we maintain the shade once we get there. And so I'm going to share that with you. But most importantly, we got to take that initial shade because these patients they think their teeth are yellow, but they don't really know until we put a shade guide up there. We say, hold this mirror. Let's look together. Let's see what color your teeth are. More dentistry comes from this little verbiage. I'm telling you. How do I know that? How do I know? Because I own a whitening shop. And I can tell you, I didn't have the whitening shop because I'm trying to show off or I'm trying to, make money. Let me tell you, I actually probably give away more whitening than I do. But I can tell you what it makes me feel and how it makes me feel. And it's kind of a self, fulfillment for me because these patients are my family. They really do care. And I can tell you at this point in my life, I've whitened over 5,000 people. In just 3 years, probably whitened close to 2,000. How did I do that? It wasn't rocket science. I just take it serious. I just really and truly care. And this is what I want you to understand is I've whitened over 5,000 people. But I don't have a whole lot of mentors to tell me what to do. I just don't say no to patients that want to whiten, but I do make sure that it's done right. And most importantly, I want you to understand that again, if you don't do it, they're going to go somewhere else and somebody's got to do this right. And so, if you don't know how big this industry is, whitening is the number one asked procedure. So, for people that say, people don't really want it, then why are these numbers at 37 million and it's rising? Those aren't even accurate numbers anymore. This is crazy. And of those, about 90% have already used Take On Whitening from CVS, from Walgreens, from Amazon. And only 10% of us are even offering in office whitening. Let me tell you, I don't know what's going on. The reason I opened the whitening shop was because I was doing so many whitenings in my practice. It can be done, but part of this has to do with, are we taking it serious? Do we really care that they're getting a great result? You got to care, and you will after tonight. The other thing is I make it fun. I want to have fun. Dentistry is so, it sucks the life out of you. There's times I get up and I'm like, oh God, I could just had ulcers. I've had shingles twice, had it 3 times. Nobody really in my life I've ever known has ever had shingles 3 times. I'm that person. I can tell you dentistry is a tough business for anybody. But let me tell you, this is fun. This is easy. This is not rocket science. More dentistry will come. I know that the Swedish Academy, overseas over in the UK, not Swedish, but the Academy of, I think it is Swedish. Anyway, they did this study, and it was like 85% of those patients who do whitening move on to restorative. Make this fun. One of the things I just implemented was a sign for my patients. And let me tell you, I had to ask, I'm in a Hilton Gold Key building. I had to beg for it. I said, I'm paying all this money. I'll give up my own parking spot. Can I put a sign there? And they're like, we guess. That's something, if you have your own building, you have your own parking lot, that is reserved for the whitening patient. It's front and center. People are like, well, wait a minute, why they got their own parking spot, right? The other thing that I just did, this is so stinking cute. I'm going to tell you, I hired my daughter and a couple of her friends, and I made this. I saw this on TikTok, and I said, oh my God, I got to get this. And it's something that fits right into a car window. And so, depending on where you are or what you're doing, this was something that was so cute. Do you know that I only did this like 3 weeks ago? And we've done it 2 Sundays because we had a lot of races going on here at the oceanfront. And I paid my daughter and 3 of her friends to put these on the cars for about 3 hours. Do you know how many patients I've already gotten from that? 12. 12 off of some stupid. I already paid for my thing. This cost me like $200 to make these, and you can't really see it. It doesn't do it justice. But this is made with a Cricut, and I put some glitter on it. Okay. And let me tell you, I just put it, I don't touch anybody's, I don't mess with anybody's car. I just kind of stick it right into the little slot of the door. I found this on TikTok and I said, hey, I got to do this. It's super simple, but I've already gotten 12 patients because, again, if they're going to open the door, they're parked on my street. I pay these kids some little bit of money, and oh my God, they loved it. They thought it was fun. These are the things that we got to think outside the box, right? So there we are. We're in the parking lot. Let's talk about the inside. If you never show, one of the things I want to encourage you to do is take your phone and walk through your office as you open the door and see, does anybody know we do whitening? Hey, we do whitening. There's nothing. This person, hey, Shannon, will you help us do more whitening? Well, my God, all you got to do is put a sign on the desk because nothing tells me that you do whitening. We're never going to get it. These people don't even know that you do it. And listen, Alternate has everything you need. I'm going to show you all the stuff you can get for free and utilize it. Do you think I pay for all this stuff? Heck no. They're the best marketers. I'm going to steal their stuff. Half the things that I'm showing, I'm stealing from Ultradent, but they give it to you. But let me show you my office. First thing I have is I got people right on the wall. Every monitor, every TV, I have before and after, before and after, before and after, before and after. I have a whole display case of all of my whitening. People can see it through the window. Patients can go up and open it. But most importantly, I have towers. We're going to talk about sample towers. We do whitening. Ask us about our specials. I put the brand on my windows. I got stickers on my windows. I can tell you that the more that you showcase, I have things in the mirror. So many of these things, something that's so easy. I made these with my Cricut to go on my sliding doors, right? Because I said I'm going to brand this. If I can make sure that people know this is what we do, I'm going to do it. And this is where in dentistry at our in our office, we just don't do enough of that. And having signs, having your team, they're younger than we are. Have the kids that work for you, the teenagers say, hey, find us some good stuff. Go on Pinterest. Tell us what people are doing. Google, teeth whitening on Pinterest or even on Instagram. I found this actually someone had it at a coffee bar, and I said, oh my gosh, we remove what coffee leaves behind, and I put it right up on the counter. And I can tell you, people walk in and they laugh. They think this is so funny. So sometimes it's the littlest things, but if we don't display the products and the things we offer, remember that if you ever go through Sephora, Coco Floss is making millions. And I'm going to tell you, they're probably not making millions off of us as dental professionals. They're making their money off of all these teenagers going through Sephora and grabbing things right at the counter. And they do that on purpose, and I can tell you that this is why I'm doing this on purpose. As we're walking out the door, hey, do you need any toothpaste? You need toothbrushes. These are the things that I want you to know, that you don't need to go to Amazon. You don't need to go to CVS. I'm cheaper than them. And most importantly, I'm going to make sure that you get the best price. And that's what I tell them. I'm going to beat it. But one of the things that you can do out of the gate, I know that a lot of us have brochures and we give patients brochures. It's like, hey, we're going to talk about periodontal disease. We're going to talk about Invisalign. We're going to talk about all these things. And at the end, we give them a brochure. How about we reverse that? What if we gave the patient a brochure when they walked in the door? Hey, we're running some great whitening specials. Let me just give you this little flyer right here, just in case you're ever interested. And if you are, you just let our team know as they take you back. Let me tell you, I jumped on Ultradent's website. I ordered every marketing material they had, but I'm going to show you in a minute. And it's all free. Why are we not doing that? Find out who your rep is. And it's not just about Ultradent. I really and truly deny it's not about Ultradent. They're my sponsor, but then the products that I use, and I use a lot of other ones too. But Ultradent has the greatest marketing. My God, why would I recreate something when they already got it? But what you don't know is all the things that they have. But for me, being in industry 34 years, it's something that we talk about a treatment, we talk about a procedure, and we give them a pamphlet at the end of the treatment when they're ready to leave. But one of the things that I can tell you that happens right away out of the gate is as they're sitting and waiting, you know what they do first? Do you think they look at their phone? Do you think they look at the TV? They look at the brochure first. Every single person, I swear to you. And if you don't believe me, do it. And you're going to come back and say, Shannon, you know what? That's the one thing you told me I never thought was true is true. They will open it up. So this is where you want to have an impact. The other thing that will make you money, it will make you money, is ordering, I call it a tower. That's not even the name of it. The tower. One of the things that I love is having all these brochures. I've tried things. They have nice displays to see what works, what doesn't. Are patients really gravitating through it? Is it something that really works? But the one thing that I know does work are the sample towers. I have one at the checkout. I have one in every single op. And I'm going to share with you why that's so critical, because every time I'm explaining to patients about how to utilize the whitening, do you think I'm going to hand them the trays and just say, here you go. You do this, and this? No. Every time I am delivering Go or advanced, I put it in my mouth. Is that really for patient samples? Not really. Honestly, it's for me to show them all day long. And people ask me, Shannon, do you really put that in your mouth every patient? Heck yeah. You know why? Because my patients are compliant. People want to see you put it in your mouth, and they want to see how easy it is to use it. You know what people would tell me? I don't like Chris White strips. I don't like those trays. Well, you don't know how these work. So I don't want you to have an opinion until I show you how easy it is. We never do that in dentistry. We give people whitening trays. Here you go. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. You got to put it in your mouth. These people don't read. They don't even look. I mean, they might look at videos, but very seldom, right? They don't read. Specials. You say, Shannon, you know what? Do you run specials? Heck yeah, I run specials all the time. Everybody loves a special, but half the specials are specials we've had our whole live. Can I tell you? Running specials, offering things, getting in touch with your rep. Your rep has so many cute things going to Michael's, showcasing weddings, doing that. This is something else that I implemented. My doctor said, Shannon, that is so dumb. I said, okay, so dumb, go ahead. But I can tell you that I stole it from a good friend of mine down in Texas, and I thought the same thing. I was like, man, he's got his website on the back of his shirt. His name is Marvin Berlin. And I said, Dr. Merlin, I got to tell you, that's so tacky. I would never put my website on the back of my shirt. I sat with him for hours. And by the end of the afternoon, I was like, I'm going to put my website on the back of my shirt. Let me tell you, your team walks out with these, let me whiten your teeth. It doesn't mean everybody has to do it. I've got pins that I made this on Sticker Mule, right? And made these little pins. Let me whiten your teeth. Something so easy. We just don't even think about these things half the time. Having a good lit up mirror. You can't whiten somebody's teeth and then say, yeah, it's a little dark in here. I love having good visuals, good mirrors, because the brighter it is, the easier it is for them to see and most importantly, make a decision. The other thing is, one of the things, and this is a slide that's kind of out of place, back up just a little bit, that verbal communication is something that's really important. But one of the things that I do with every patient, and I did this in all the practices that I work in and the practices that I consult with, is I say, listen, when they come once a year, we have to ask them how they feel about their teeth. And my friends that are in dentistry will say, well, Shannon, we already asked them that on the original paperwork. They already knew. Well, we need to update it every year. So this is something that I think has worked really, really well for my offices, because the way I feel about my teeth now is not how I felt when I originally became your patient. And so updating this every year is really important. And I apologize that this is out. And if you want these things, I've got them in a Word document. They're yours. I also have a comfort menu. I have patients tell me, do they want headphones? Do they want chapstick? I buy it on Amazon. I don't have somebody make chapstick. Nobody cares about anything with your label. Don't waste your money. Oh, I got to have water with my label on it. Guess what they're going to do? Drink it and throw it in the trash. Oh, I got to have chapstick. Half the chapstick that I buy is like sandpaper. I buy it on Amazon because they don't care. I just want them to use it here. Really good blanket. Spend the money on a blanket. Nothing is worse than an itchy, scratchy, cheap blanket. Put them in the chair, let them feel good. Do you know that I emailed them? I text message this, and if you want it, it's yours before they come in. Hey, tell me a little bit about the comfort that you're looking for before we see you. And I do this through Weave. It's just a text. And I can tell you, you said, well, Shannon, do people really fill that out? They really fill it out. They love this. And let me tell you, I have Bose headphones. It's got to be an experience too. If you're going to do it, whitening is boring. They cannot sit there for an hour and how much longer? How much longer? How much longer? That's what they do. You got to give them headphones. I have one. I have Peacock. I've got, Hulu and all that. I don't even give them a choice for that. Hey, we got one channel, this Netflix. You can't find it there? Tough, right? Because this way I can hit the remote. I don't have to sit and turn channels for patients. And I do have a massage chair. It doesn't mean you got to have a massage chair, but having a nice bucky that they can wipe down, having a good experience, putting headphones. Here's Amber. Look, wouldn't you want to sit in that chair? Now, let me tell you, we're in dentistry. I know this is sometimes things that you can't do, but I've got a lot of dental practices that said, well, shoot, that thing lays all the way back and it's leather. I've already sold 7 in the last 4 months to dental offices. So, might be something to think about. But again, that itchy, scratchy blanket, those itchy, scratchy blankets are horrible. You want something nice and soft and comfortable. All right. Now, again, how can we do more? Bundling whitening, show and shade comparisons, offering tiered options. But one of the things that I think is really important is, are you taking a shade? Are you taking a shade? So see this all the time. Photos of our patients, we will basically open up our Shofu camera and pull out our camera card. And I'm utilizing my selfie printer, and I want you to see this, because one of the things that's really important is for you to have that patient leave with a photograph. And so all I'm going to do is take the card, place it right into the printer here, okay? And what will happen is it'll pop up and show me the photos that I just took. And you can see here, right on my printer, I'm gonna come back just a little bit, you can see those. And what I'm gonna do is I'm basically gonna just kind of scroll over to the one that I know has the shade tab and the one that I really want my patient to go home with. And I am going to print that. Now, I'm going to tell you that of all the things I
Now,
probably would tell you
this is
tonight,
important because when
this
you're
is
talking to
very
patients
important.
about shade and what is their shade and for them to remember exactly where it is that they're starting, because we all forget where we started. And once we whiten the teeth, we can't go back. And so this is where I want to make sure that that every patient leaves with a photograph. And when you think about that, um, it is on Canon paper. This is such an economical way to do this. I mean, this printer cost me about $79 on Amazon. It's nice. Now, the one thing you don't want to do is print a whole bunch of little tiny photos all on one sheet. You'll notice here, and these are two different patients, that I printed them out. Now, I will say that you do want the worst ones, right? But here I want patients to know that this is where we are starting. And utilizing this little printer here is a great way to do that. The other thing is, notice that it is on paper, not copy paper, photographic paper, okay?
Now, if there's anything that I can tell you tonight, this has made the biggest impact. The one thing that patients have never seen is they say, well, Shannon, I scan my patients. I take photos of my patients. We show them their teeth, but it's out of sight, out of mind. They stand up, they forget. It's almost like they get amnesia. They forgot where they were. They don't remember the shades. They don't remember their teeth. But when you print it out, it's big. I mean, I had a patient, she said, I almost wrecked my car looking at that god awful ugly photo. And I'm going to tell you, this is out of all the things I would tell you tonight, between that and writing down their shade. If you don't do anything that I say tonight, you need to buy the shade tabs. I circle everybody's shade, write it down. This is where you're starting, and I print out every photo. These people bring these things back, just like this guy. Looks like a dog's been chewing on it. I can tell you, people look at that because it gives them a momentum to continue the whiteness. So listen, if it's not getting lighter over the next couple of days, then I want to know about it, because I've only had two people to really not get a good shade change, out of all those patients. But this is something that's really important. And you can get them on eBay first if you're not really sure, and you can get them really dirt cheap. And then once you're utilizing them, then spend the money and get a really nice one. Now, I'm going to rag you a little bit. Fees. You can't expect a patient to pay $1,000 for whitening and do a crown. This is where we're so caught up in the money that we don't really think about what is it really costing you to do whitening. Your fees are so astronomical. I want to make a good living off of the whitening, make a good return. You got to pay for your team member to do it. But do you really know what it costs? You say, Shanna, how can you get your fees this low? I get my fees that low because I buy in bulk. I'm ready. I have the alternate rep come in. They sit with me. I said, oh, how much do I need to buy to get that discount? Because I will buy it in bulk. And the more I buy, the cheaper it is. But you got to be ready. And you got to know, this is my plan. We're going to offer three different types. We're going to do a pre-filled, we're going to do a custom tray, and we're going to do in-office whitening. And I would tell you, you got to do all three, because if you want patients to get the best results, A's, B's, you can do just about anything. C's and D's cannot. And we got to be ready. But the more you buy in bulk, but nobody knows more about the whitening than the rep. We never let them in the door. My God, the first thing I did is I said, we got to sit down. I need to know, Gail, how cheap can I get this? What do I need to do? And they'll also tell you what other people are charging. And then when you find out, you got to beat them, because you're still going to make money off of this. But remember, it's not about the whitening. Now, don't give it away for free. Do not give it away for free if they become a new patient. You know why? They'll never do it. They don't have any. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in dentistry, is why we give things away for free. Okay. I don't understand that. Then we're not compliant. We don't care about it. We're not invested. And so this is where, don't do that, but have a fee that anybody can say yes to something that you offer. That's what we're supposed to do. And then printed marketing materials. We already talked about that. Going to the website. The very first thing I want you to do is go to the website, go to marketing materials, download everything. You won't even know what it looks like if you don't sit as a team and say, I like that. And I don't like that pamphlet. Let's do this. I ordered one of everything. Can I tell you? Everything. I think it's like 40 different things. I said, okay, do we going to put this in the bathroom? I put a big poster in the bathroom. So when patients go in, sit on the toilet, what are they going to do? Look at the back of the door and see that we offer whitening. It was a free poster. You can always change it out. But what I love is the marketing aspect of it. Also, they're giving you postings for your social media. Why am I paying somebody to do all the social media when I can take Ultradents? I mean, really, they're giving it to you. But sometimes we don't even know these things, and they're the marketing gurus. Once you've taken these pictures, we got to display them. You got to put them on the wall. Nothing means more than showing your befores and afters. If you never take photos, though, you're not going to have befores and afters, right? We got to take good photos with a shade tab. I take a full face, a smile, a shade tab, and then I do the same thing after. If we don't, we're going to lose the story. And so I like to make these little books, and I will put these. Can I tell you where I just put my little chat book that I made? Starbucks. Let me put the chat book in Starbucks. Can you believe that? They let me even put a flyer because I got a Starbucks not that far from here. And I said, hey, listen, I'll give you guys half off for whitening if you let me put this in here. I said, okay. They haven't even came to do the whitening. Can I tell you? It happens a lot. But you don't ask, you don't get. My mom always said, you don't ask, you don't get. How about this? All you do with the chat books, and even Groupon has a lot of these things where you can drop your photos, befores and afters, making these little books. They're dirt cheap. Put them everywhere. Take them and give them to orthodontists, endodontists, pediodontists, anyone that you work with. It's not about the restorative. You don't even need their help with restorative if you start with the whitening. And this is something to get even the endodontist. But how do we showcase that? Shoot, take advantage of all of these things, all kinds of things that you can do. My patients, when they get married and they let me use their photos, I offer great discounts. I said, listen, I'll give you a great discount, but you got to give me the photo. And when they give me the photo, I literally put this on the wall. And I use it for my marketing. I let them sign off. Hey, listen, you do this, I'll give you a great deal, but I need everybody. You need to give me the pictures, right? And one of the things that I've done now is when they give me the photo, I actually have theirs made and I wrap it and I give it to them. So I give them the same photo that I'm placing on the wall. But I actually hang it on the wall, and then when they come in, I take it off and I wrap it. I've had people cry. I can almost cry just thinking about it. It's something that we are human, but whitening brings so many, I mean, free marketing for these things. Listen, I'll help you do this, but you got to give me the photos. I can't tell you how many people will find you once you do this. They'll find you. I mean that. But let's start about this. And I don't want to run over, but I want you to remember the kids. These kids have the lowest self esteem. Cater to the kids. You cater to the kid, you're going to get the mom, you're going to get everybody. I'm telling you. You make mom happy, and if you got kids, all of us got kids. You make kids happy. I mean, look at the smiles on these kids. Taking the photos, let him hold fear in a shaded name, have a great time. It's fun. I offer all kinds of whitening specials for kids. I will give my life to these kids. I mean that. Cheerleaders, high schools, proms, you know, graduation. We're missing it. We're missing it. And I can tell you that, this is where running those specials, thinking about where can you go? You don't need to hire a marketing guru. Get your team to say, hey, every week you guys have to come up with something different. Every week we got to think about what can we do. I donated whitening to all these teachers. They gave me a banner to put on the gate at the football stadium outside the school because I donated some whitening as a giveaway. Have a good negotiator on your team that can negotiate things. I did a couple of bridal shows. I can tell you that it worked okay, but I felt like most people were there for free. They wanted free stuff. But we got to think about bundles, rewards, maybe memberships, offering gift certificates. These are things, again, you have social media, you got text messaging, making nice things, but really focus on whitening. I also have a subscription. Hey, every 3 months you can come and get your teeth whitened and updated. Every 6 months. These are the things that we can do, but don't do it for free. I don't want you to do it for free. Let's talk about Groupon for a minute. Everybody hates Groupon, but let me tell you something. Everybody loves a special, and especially in this day and age. True story. I did a Groupon, and this patient came to see me. I was training a dental office on Invisalign. The patient was sitting in the chair. This is her. And she has really short, worn teeth. And I said to her, I'm going to whiten your teeth, but I want you to know something. You need to really be thinking about those chips and wear. I'm really concerned for you. we're already through the dentin here. And I said, I'm not a dentist. I can't treatment plan. But what I do know is you really need to ask your doctor and talk to your doctor about orthodontics and see what can be done. I was training Trey White, an orthodontist, I mean, a general dentist not too far from here. And I go into the training, and there she is. I said, oh God, don't tell him I did the whitening. Don't tell him I did the whitening. She said, I know you. You did my whitening. I was like, oh God. And he goes, what do you mean? We do whitening here. And she said, but you weren't running a special. So I can tell. I said, but you owe me because she's here to do. I said, what did I tell you need to do? You told me I needed to ask my doctor about Invisalign. Whitening brings everything. But don't poo-poo those specials. But don't be stupid with it. If you think about doing Groupon, call me because I work the system. Because let me tell you, you don't want to do dentistry. You want to do maybe something like whitening, but don't offer the cheapest version of it and make mistakes like I did. Offer a higher fee because Groupon gets 50%. So whatever you're going to do, you want to make sure that it's worth your time. But most importantly, thinking about what you're going to do. Now, I'll tell you what is worth your time are these Valpak coupons. I have found that this really brought a lot of kids, a lot of teenagers, and a lot of people that are getting married. This has been probably the biggest bang for my buck when it comes to marketing. This comes in a little envelope. We all get it. We open it up and we pull them out. We're like, yeah, I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this. Use this. Sometimes we don't. But I can tell you on an average monthly, what happens is they scan the QR code. You get and know who those people are, and you can market to them or you can call them. And on an average, I get about 100 a month, and I'm about a 50% success rate. This has probably been the best marketing. This cost me about $375 to do this in different areas of the city. You can choose, but Valpak is all over the U.S. And let me tell you, they don't like me very much. I know how to milk that system. So if you need help with that or Groupon, I'm your girl. I'm going to help you, right? This is my new one that I'm doing. I'm offering $100 off, and I'm doing teen whitening for 49 bucks. Again, we make mama happy, we get the kids. Also, YouTube, and again, I want to keep going real quick because I want to get through these. YouTube, don't utilize, and when you think about making your own post-operative videos or how to use whitening syringes, how to use the advanced. I make my own videos of how I want patients to utilize them, and I drop them into my own YouTube channel. And when I do that, I use that channel to funnel out my text messages. So if I'm using Weave, I can take those YouTube videos, even for every procedure we do. I mean, who wants to keep telling somebody about not to smoke after doing an extraction? So we videotaped our team doing all of these videos, and we get the rankings for it. And most importantly, it really helps grow our YouTube channel and also helps with your Google rankings, okay? I'm telling you, that's important. The other thing is, if you're out taking a course, let your patients know that the doctor isn't here today. The hygienist is taking a course today. I'm sorry. You got to let people know that you are taking CE. Nobody really talks about these things. I'm like, what's wrong with y'all? Let people know you're training, you're doing training, or you're participating in training. You're becoming an expert on this stuff. The other thing is making sure that if you are going to post on social media, don't post blood and guts and implants and red. People don't want to see that. Oh my God, people turn that right away. You want fun things. You don't need to pay somebody socially to do some of this stuff. Your team, you probably got somebody on your team that's really good at this. Pay them to do it though. Don't ask us to do that for free, because if you pay me to do it, I'm going to make sure it's really, really good. And again, I'm going to steal all alternate stuff and put it on there because that's what they're doing it for. They want us buying the whitening. They're giving us a lot of these things. I look at what alternate's posting, and they've got some great ideas, and they've got high-end marketers that are creating some of this stuff. Why are we not using it? Use your social media too to remind patients, but most importantly, showcase your whitening. Hey, Jan, I know you were just here for the whitening. Let me remind you, hey, I saw that you're booked. This is all automated with a lot of our software. I can automatically send patients what they're going to experience. Here's the 3 types of whitening that I offer. Here's how they work. Here's a video on each procedure. People love that. And then just utilizing some of again, I've made a lot of these, tons of things in Canva. You can utilize them if you're interested and you need help with maybe some of the social media postings. And Grant, I told you can use a lot of alternates, but I have some too, and I want you to have that. but have a good fee. Don't charge all this money for whitening. Look at it, have a good fee, but most importantly, remember what's going to come from it. And running specials. I'm always running specials, and we put it in a little tiny plastic frame up front. Special, 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 special. It could be the same daggone special you've had for a year and a half. Do you think people ask me, hey, isn't that the same special y'all had last year? They never say anything. But what my team will say is, hey, we're running a special. If you ever thought about whitening, now's the time. We're running a special. We're running a special. We're running a special. But don't tell these people they can't whiten. Glenn was told he cannot whiten by his doctor. This tooth did not have a root canal, it just turned dark. And I said, you know what? I'm one of those people. I'll try anything as long as the bleach is safe. And I can tell you, I know that. Glenn, I said, Glenn, you're my project. But I'm going to tell you, if I'm going to do the time, you better do the time. And anytime I see that you're not doing what I tell you to do, then we're going to stop. I said, but you are going to be my project, because I said, I've whitened people who have had teeth that have trauma, but we're going to we're going to figure this out. There's no real guru of whitening to say, you do this and this and this and this, and this is what you're going to get always. But you got to be open. Stop putting up barriers for you. You think, I'm like, I look at somebody and say, listen, I don't know. We're going to do this together. But if I'm willing to put in the time to make sure of this, I'm going to see you a couple of times. If I'm willing to do it, you got to do your part. But in dentistry, we don't tell people, I'm going to see you back in 2 weeks to make sure that you're getting a good shade change. We say, we'll see you in hygiene. We'll see you later. This is part of the reason is we're not taking this serious. And if you want to be successful, it starts with you. But Glenn was told for years he never could whiten. But what I want you to notice is Glenn's full face. This was my patient in the opalescence extravaganza. Blew people away. No endo. I said, Glenn, we're going to make sure you get a great result. So I'm taking the photos of the shade. I'm going to do the in-office whitening. I did boost. I gave him custom trays. He's C&D custom trays. He whitens every single night for 3 weeks. He comes back. I whiten him again. He goes back home. But what I want you to look at is Glenn's face. Glenn starts becoming a stalker. He's taking photos of himself in the bathroom, the kitchen, his office, his car. He's like, Shannon, it's really, really working. It wouldn't have worked if he had not done his part. We got to keep these people going, the momentum going. I bring him back again. I'm whitening him over and over and over. I think I whitened him in the office with Boost 4 times. And over a 3-month period, Glenn has lost, actually going on 4. Over the last 6 months, he's lost 72 pounds. This is what whitening does. It changes lives. It changes people. He's not on any heart medication anymore. He had high blood pressure. Look at the gum tissue. Whitening changes lives. You don't need to hire a consultant to tell you these things. If you just say, what can we do now? Taking whitening serious. If you do whitening as the first step to all treatment, more dentistry will come. On an average, I see 10 to 12 patients a day. Pick a day and do whitening all in one day. And then maybe it'll turn into just like what I was doing, whitening every day in my practice. But you don't need to have a whitening center. But what I want to encourage you to think about, and I'm going to back up and go all the way back to my brochure. The first step, make a brochure. Take whitening out of your practice and make it a separate entity. Make your brochure, take it to Kinko's, Vistaprint, and start marketing. As people walk in the door, hey, we're starting a whole whitening program. We're really going to, give people, everybody's been asking us about it. We're going to do it and make it separate. Give them a brochure, separate your whitenings, all the whitenings you're going to do, have a good fee that nobody can say no to those fees. And at the end of the day, if you got good team members and you do this right, more dentistry, you won't even have to worry. And this is fun. People smile, they bring you candy, they bring you gifts. They do things for you, they become family, and you get the whole family. It's not rocket science. And these are great products. They work. But don't tell people they're going to get 10 shades in one visit. And do more of the in-office. You can't just do it with pre-filled trays or custom trays. It's a system. But the rep will help you with that system. So I hope that you got something out of tonight. You hung on. I love it when the numbers don't go down. And I want to answer any questions that I have for you. And I thank Catapult for having this. I think it says a lot for them to really think about the marketing from a dental team member. I'm not a marketing guru. I just know what's worked. And so I want to answer those questions if you have any for me tonight. So Let's see what you got for me.
So, the first question we have is, how are you telling patients to bleach after in-office bleaching, and how many days do they do it for? What are they using?
I love that. So one of the things that is really important is when I do the in-office whitening, A's and B's can really do anything. I learned that from Dr. Fisher, and Alternate has a lot of different guides to kind of help you through that. But A's and B's can really do anything. They can do, most of my patients don't want custom trays. So I use Opalescence Advanced now a lot. But again, it goes back to, I'm a Go. I've sold 2,000 Go. I love Go pre-filled whitening. But I tell you, the advanced is really something I'm using a lot. It's so easy. Just put on the teeth and suck in, and I show them how to do it though. You can't just hand it to them. But my goal is A's and B's usually can do the pre-filled every day, and there's 10 in a box. I have them do it every day. The secret is every day. Don't skip a day. And then if they're seasoned D's, they're not going to get there with just an hour a day. The Opalescence Advanced and Go is an hour. We need time. Season Ds are discolored for a reason. We have to go back to our custom tray whitening because at the end of the day, I got to sleep at night, just like Dan Fisher said. I got to sleep at night knowing that they're using a product that's sitting on the teeth for hours. We need hours. And so this is where my regimen for like Glenn out of the gate was 14 days, 14 days every day for 14 days. And then after that, I have them buy the syringes, and I don't tell them it's $3.99 and that's the only fee, and you see them for forever because in their mind that's what they think they're getting. Trust me, I've done that. But when you think about okay, our touch-up kits are this, and if we have to keep going for some reason, maybe the teeth are a little bit darker, like tetracycline, like Glenn's, or endotooth, like Glenn's, then that's something that again you just have them buy the syringes and they keep going. But out of the gate, I usually say 14 days. And maybe what's
Ultradent sells the bleaching syringe as a pack of two. So, how much do you charge for a pack? When you make custom bleaching trays, how many syringe tubes or the two packs of two are you giving to the patient?
So they come more than a pack of two. It's not just two. That's actually refills. You want a patient kit, and the patient kit has actually 8 syringes. So one syringe will usually last 2, sometimes 3 nights, depending on if it's a small mouth. And they only need a little bit. A little bit goes a long way. So 8 syringes. Now I don't do the 2 packs. I want the 8 because they're going to run out of that. And so what I always say is, buy it in bulk so you can get the cheapest price. And there's always specials, always special. Even for this webinar, you're going to get a special off of that. But most importantly, looking at your fees, and making sure that it's incorporated in that. For me, when they do in-office whitening or professional whitening, what I call it, it does include trays. C's and D's will get custom trays. A's and B's, I do advanced or go. And there are some patients that I even use strips on, so it just depends on the age of that patient. But I never do two. Two for me is always a refill. I like the patient kits because I want to make sure, again, at the end of the day, if they don't get the result and they haven't done it long enough, we're not going to see that. And I'm all about my pictures too, right? I mean, I want to get my follow-up photos and I'm going to see them back in 2 weeks, sometimes 3. But I want to make sure that I'm giving them enough of that material. So I don't use the twos. I usually use that just for refills if they need touch-ups.
So, what's the youngest age you would whiten?
Hmm. Well, I have whitened as young as 9. Now, let me tell you something. This is peroxide. We cut ourselves, we pour peroxide on it. There's a lot of things that's got peroxide in it. But when I'm doing a consult, per Dan Fisher, if the patient, that young patient was actually a son of a dental assistant, hated his teeth his whole life. This kid never smiled for a single photo ever. Ever. Why? Because his teeth were yellow. People who have red hair and teeth are pigmented just like skin. They had red hair and their teeth looked like butter. Both boys. She had 2 sons. And I said, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to do this because I want this kid to feel good about themselves. These kids have the lowest self-esteem. They sit in my chair and they tell me they hate themselves. I've had a child tell me they want to kill themselves because of the way that they look. I don't care about what people say. If I can do the consult and according to Dan Fisher, look at them dead in the face and I know in my heart that they understand and they can do it themselves, I'm okay with it. It's peroxide. They're not going to die from it, but I do a very low percentage. This is where strips come in, younger, or a 10%. I'm never going to do in-office whitening on a kid, okay? I can tell you, I have my barriers for that. But I'm going to tell you right now, I've got 6 kids. Dan Fisher didn't invent opalescence to hurt kids. He's got tons of kids. But the one thing that I will tell you is if I can save one kid, make one kid feel good about themselves, I don't care what anybody else thinks. As long as mom understands and the kid can look at me. Now, I've turned kids away. But listen, mom, he's too young. He's not ready. Because I got to sleep at night knowing that I did the right thing. But let me tell you something. Nothing touches me more. I will give it away. I do kids sometimes for free. I don't care if they don't have any money. I'm going to do it. But bacteria is killed. Hydrogen peroxide kills bacteria. You cut yourself, you put peroxide on it. People are like, oh my gosh, it's going to damage. That studies have been shown that peroxide kills bacteria. It's actually good for you. I got patients right now we're doing studies on that are their teeth and their gums have never been clean like this. And it wasn't me, it was because of the product. And when kids don't brush their teeth, they're not taking care of their teeth. Kids that are in braces, we can do whitening over braces now. We can do whitening with Invisalign. There's so much that can be done, but that peroxide kills the bacteria. And at the end of the day, that's what we got to remind ourselves about, And again, I'm not doing it on a 2-year-old. I'm not doing it on a 6-year-old, but these kids are smart. They can do it themselves. And I'm only doing it for 4 days. They don't have the habits we've got. They're doing it for 15, 20 minutes a day for 4 days. I'm okay with that. What's my next question?
For the guy that lost 70 pounds and had that dark tooth, do you do single tooth whitening and custom tray first?
No. Eventually it'll catch up. But you got to do enough whitening. There's no real science behind all of this. I mean, you just got to do enough of it. When you do when you do a lot of it, you'll know A's and B's need this, C's and D's need this. But if you never do it, you're never going to know. And some patients, you just like, listen, I'm going to do this. We're going to try it out, but this is what I want you to know. I'm dealing with the human body here. But that tooth did not have endo. And, when you think about a tooth that has endo, now we used to use superoxide. We'd heat up the pellet, put it in the tooth, and patients be like, what's that burning? That's your tooth. We don't need to do that anymore. We've got great products. And so, if you are going to do an endo treated tooth and you're going to place it in the chamber, we got opalescence endo. But what I found is I don't even need to do that. If I whiten them with Boost and then I send them home with a custom tray and I say, Glenn, listen, the teeth are going to be lighter than that tooth right now, but eventually every night we're going to sleep in it, the tooth is going to get lighter too. And you saw that. All we did was just kept going, kept going, kept going, kept going. It was dark his whole life. Like he cares that it's two-tone now. It already was two-tone. But it was amazing to keep going. And he is not the only person. Right now, I've probably got about 60 people that I make them a custom tray and we do in the office and we do Boost a couple of times because Boost takes about a week off, and they're sitting in my chair and I'm spending more time with them. And then this is really important. You want to talk about really changing someone the way they feel about themselves. I mean, he's a sure example of that. And like I said, but you don't want to promise them and say it's only one, $3.99, $4.99, and then all of a sudden you start losing money. I've done that. Listen, after this, every time we do it, it's $99 or $59 every time I see you, or $79 for every in office that we're going to do from here. And this is where you got to be, again, strategic about that. You don't want to give this whitening away because if you do, then they're going to stop doing their part, right? They got to have some skin in the game here. And so this is where, again, finding that sweet spot, but knowing what you're paying for your whitening. What is the fee that you're paying for the whitening, the barrier, the time? But listen, I don't have my hygienist doing this all day long. Okay. They're cleaning teeth. This is really for me more of an assistant role and trying to put all these people on one day. And people say, Shannon, how do you do it on one day? It's all about how you say. Shannon, our whitening specialist, is only here on Mondays or only here on Fridays because you don't want me to try and do whitening in between a crown prep and running here and running there. We really want to be efficient with it because the more I do, the better I'm going to be at it. And the faster I'm going to get my spill down. I'm going to get everything down. I'm going to know I can take my photos at this amount of time. I can make my trays and get really, really good at it.
What impression material do you use for the patients that do custom bleaching?
I use Ultradents. I get so mad. Don't even get me started here. They've got an electric gun that I had the first generation. It was owned by a different company. Ultradent picked up the gun. I love it. I mean, I tell you, it's a cordless impression gun, and I use their Chromacon. It's something that I've been using for forever. It's a polyvinyl, and let me tell you why I use a polyvinyl, because I can report multiple times. We're not, I hate pouring up models, but I honestly I hate alginate. I hate alginate. I'm a kind of a poo-poo, right? I'm a snob. But I love their material because it can come in a penta or you can put it in your gun. And again, taking the impressions, it can be reported multiple times. Now, I can say this, Ultradent cannot, but it's been reported multiple times. And for someone who's had provisionals for a year, I broke them multiple times. I could go back to that provisional and remake the provisional. And my doctor said, Shannon, you're going to have to pick one product, and I said, okay, well, this is it. I love this product and they don't even talk about it, but it's amazing. And it's my go-to for all my provisional courses. I love it, but I use it for, again, taking all my polyvinyls because if something happens and I break that model, I don't want the patient to have to come back in. And I've got something if we need to do a wax up on, I can send it to the lab and I don't have to pour it. So I like Ultradents and that's the one I'm using now for everything. And it's not about them being a sponsor tonight. That's my go-to product. And I love their BFC 3 gun. You got to check that out. It's amazing.
How do you deal with sensitivity when whitening someone so much like the last example?
Well, the one thing about tetracycline patients and patients who have endo, their teeth are really not that sensitive. But great question. I love that. Honestly, I have a lot of courses that I put together on sensitivity, but my go-to is potassium nitrate. And so one of the things that I like to do is put patients on, if I know that I'm going to make a custom tray, I'm going to put them on the Ultra Ease. It's pure potassium nitrate. That they can syringe right into their tray. If they come in, they say, hey, listen, but the common denominator is ortho. Common denominator. Why do we wait to the end with Invisalign and orthodontics to do whitening? I have no idea when we could have whitened at the very beginning, but there's something about that movement. I can make a list, and every doctor I say, hey, listen, and you know anything about why do people do ortho and they end up having sensitivity? You know anything about that? No. I'm thinking, am I the only person out there people who have, even team members, they'll say, Shannon, I can't whiten. It hurts so bad. Did you have braces? Yeah, that's the reason. I'm telling you, ortho is really, that's the first question I ask patients. Have you been in ortho? Yes, I have. How long? How many times? Those things are really important. If they tell me yes, and I know I'm going to make custom trays, I'm going to use Ultra Ease in a custom tray with syringes. If they are not and they're doing okay or they don't not going to have custom trays, then Ultra Ease actually comes in a pre-filled, just like the whitening. And the beauty of that is they can even do it like I did one this morning. I'll put a tray in 15 minutes before I do the boost to make sure they're not going to be sensitive. And I can give them one later on that night to do. Now, you don't want to do it after the whitening, but that's not what this is about. But the Ultra Ease is great. Now, for toothpaste, I like using Viva Styles toothpaste. I'll be honest. I love their Viva Style toothpaste, but what is in it? Potassium nitrate. Ultradent knew this out of the gate. Now, when they make a potassium nitrate toothpaste, I'll be using that. But you can't live without it. You got to have it. And we're using the potassium nitrate also with scaling and root planing. After my hygienist has done scaling and root planing, they're putting an ease tray on the patient to help desensitize everything. It's amazing. It's something that, again, nobody really knows a whole lot about, but potassium nitrate is the number one product for sensitivity. And I use it every day. It's my number one seller in my shop, online store. Honestly, people buy it like hotcakes. I can't even keep it in. So something to really think about and get that rep in to talk more about it. But potassium nitrate is really what you want, the Ultra Ease.
So what do you then recommend for sensitivity?
The Ultra Ease. So if they're going to be sensitive, I want them to wear that tray for a good week to 10 days before we do any whitening. The last thing you want is to do the whitening and only get it on there for 15 minutes and then have to suction it off. So I like to do that every single day with a pre-filled or the custom trays. They'll sleep in it at night. If they got Invisalign or still wearing a retainer, use the syringes. They sleep in it every single night. I got a girl that just saw me on Sunday. Every night, I want you to wear the Ease in your tray all night long until I see you. And then for those people who have ortho, I'll do a tray, pre-filled tray 15 minutes prior to doing the boost. And let me tell you something, I charge for it. It's not free. For one tray, I charge $15. That's just $15. It's $15. It's a great moneymaker. And people actually ask for it. I don't even have to really promote it anymore. They ask for it prior to because they're sensitive. So, but I like to have them do that from 7 to 10 days. And I'll use the toothpaste, but brush really good with the toothpaste, spit it out. Don't rinse. And it really is effective. So that's what I use.
The picture you showed on gentlemen, it was kind of impossible to make that tooth number 9 white. Are you using Zoom or normal whitening?
I'm using Boost. And that is not a picture. None of my photos are Photoshop, just so you know. I use my Canon camera. I have a Shofu camera, but when I'm shooting those and writing things, this is not Photoshopped. This was him, though. What I want you to understand is there's no magic secret sauce. This is a 40% hydrogen peroxide. There's nothing over the counter that we can give someone in a dental office or over the counter or made by, my kids call it bootleg whitening. Nothing is higher than the 40% boost. But the teeth are only going to absorb so much of that bleach at one time. Glenn had to go home and do custom trays. Whitening comes from time. And that's really the only science we got in dentistry is custom trays. That's why so many people just stay to the custom trays. The bleach has got to sit on the tooth. It's got to go into the center, which is dark, and that's going to take time. But Glenn wore that. He was dedicated. This man wore whitening trays every single day for 3 to 4 months. He never skipped a day, every single day. And I had videos of the conversations with him showcasing that, just going back to it. You're right, it takes time. But what I want you to know is, a shade guide doesn't lie. You can't, and again, this is not the full, this course was not about the whitening, it was about marketing. But I've done a lot of other courses and I've got his case where you can see it. But I can tell you what's great about Glenn is those teeth have stayed pretty much that color through a whole year. Now, ADAs is 5 years. That's a lie. Whitening don't last 5 years. You got to maintain it. You got to do things with it. But the best part is he has a custom tray. And when he sees it start to change color, he can put bleach in it. It's never going to be perfect. But shade guides don't lie. Anybody that shows you photos with no shade tab, don't believe it. Don't believe it. If you got a shade tab, I know what A2 is. I'm a dental assistant. I know what A3 is. I know what OM1, OM2 are. Shade tabs don't lie. You can't Photoshop shade tabs. And so that's one of the things I want you to really think about. When you see marketing other whitening companies and you just see this before and after, and there's 2 of them right now that drive me absolutely crazy. They'll show these before and afters, and I know they're Photoshopped. Where's the shade guide? Why didn't you put the shade guide in there? If you really got that kind of result, put the shade guide in. And so that's why I really want you to put the shade guide, because when they can see this shade and then they see the after shade, you're building that portfolio. And this is really important because when someone shows me something without a shade guide, I don't believe it in this day and age because there's so much that can be done. But shade guides don't lie. And we know those shades. You know those shades. And so that's why I want you to really be encouraged to do it. But he had to do his part. He had to do it at home. It wasn't me. I was just giving him a boost every couple of weeks to really take off a couple of days. Boost just takes off about 5 days of whitening. But it's not a miracle. It's not going to get 10 shades. You're going to get a shade and a half, maybe a shade to a shade and a half. But patients have to go home and do something. And anybody ever tells you different, they're lying. They got to, it's a combo. Zoom tells you one time. That's not true. You got to have trays. Glow tells you one time. That's not true. You got to go home. It's a system. There's nobody. And if they tell you that, they're lying. If you've done enough of it, you'll know. And like I said, you got to have the home trays. Whitening comes from time.
An office I used to work at would make wells on the facials or the custom trays for the whitening gel to sit in. Do you do that as well for your patients?
You know, in my early days, yeah, because I made crappy trays. I sucked. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was like I just wanted to hurry up and do it. I didn't really care. At the time of being a young assistant, I could care less. I just want to hurry up and make the whitening trays. I was the person that I had to make them, right? Nobody else wanted to. Really, the block out, for patients was really designed because we were making crappy trays. Now I have a digital printer, so I actually print trays, and sometimes I'll also make them by hand. But there's not a lot of science from that. And again, if you're making a really good tray, you don't have to have the block out. You still have it. It's why Invisalign, those tight fitting trays hold that bleach in and don't move. I love using aligners, not just Invisalign, but any aligners, because we know that it's not going to move. But if a tooth is really, really dark and the patient has a lot of saliva, I might do that. But in this day and age, I'd be lying to you if I told you that I do block out. I just don't anymore. I just have not felt a need for it. But again, at the end of the day, I'm telling patients, I'm going to know whether you're whitened or not. I've done a lot of it, and I don't want you to spend money on something you're not going to do. And you can tell them that too, because I don't want them to do that. I want them to really do it. If you're going to do it right. I want you to do it every day and then having them come back. Probably less than 2% of the population of us in dentistry have patients come back for us to check that shade. And that's sad. If you're really going to do it right, you got to check the shade. And how are you ever going to talk about other treatment if you don't check the shade and have them come back?
I've had new patients who tell me they're happy that I'm not pushing whitening and Invisalign on them because all the other dentists they went to did that and they got turned off. I'm careful when talking about whitening to patients because of this reason. What is your recommendation? I'm in New York City, highly saturated area.
It is highly saturated. I'm with you. I'm with you. So you listen, you know what? I'm not here today to sell you on that. I don't sell people on anything. I have to sleep at night. I don't worry about this life. I worry about the next life. So I'm with you. I don't want you to sound like a used car salesman. When you do that, they're never going to trust you ever. But if you say, listen, if you ever change your mind, you let me know. But I am not one of those hygienists to do that, and I appreciate you telling me, what you've experienced because I want to make sure that we are nothing like that. And we're not pushy, and I'm not pushy either. I don't want people paying for something. If somebody comes in my shop and their teeth are B1 or whiter, I try to talk them out of doing in-office whitening. Remember, I'm different than you. My patients don't call and schedule. They're scanning a QR code and making their own appointment. But what I want you to know is if they come in, I got to sleep at night. I said, listen, at the end of the day, if you do it with me or you do it yourself, the end result is going to be the same because your teeth are white. And I got to sleep at night knowing I told you the truth. If you do these trays every day for 10 days, the result that I'm going to do in the office with a couple of days of trays is going to be the same. And most of my patients are military. I said, you're military. You're going to do it every day because I know you are. But again, I just want you to be honest. Don't worry about, I don't want you to do anything different. You stay yourself and stay true to that.
What about amelogenesis imperfecta patients?
Yeah, that's a different story. You want to whiten them and they get lighter, but again, I'm not a dentist. I just know that there's a lot of products out there. We've got Icon. We also have Opal but a lot of times those people have a lot of pits in the teeth and it's hard for those patients. They're going to need something over the front of those eventually. But some of these kids that come in, and I've got little kids right now. I'm in the highest fluoridation city is only 45 minutes from me. And all of a sudden I'm getting all these kids and it breaks my heart. I've cried over these kids. I mean, like in front of them, I can't hold it back. Anybody's got a heart. But I will say, listen, we can do strips. I mean, we could do something, just low key to try to get rid of some of the darkness. But I'm not a doctor. And so this is where, thinking about maybe opal luster, there's a lot of science, there's a lot of history with opal luster, with Ultradent. Icon has some great things as well. And there's a lot of other products out there. But again, there's no real one product. And so this is where you're really going to have to do your research. But sometimes there's patients where I say, listen, we're going to try it. I don't know if it's going to work, but let's try it and see if anything is going to be a little bit better than what it is now. And it's better than not doing anything. And so that's really always been as long as it's not going to damage the tooth, that's always been my motto is if it makes them feel a little bit better and we get a little bit of result, but I never make promises to patients. But again, there's a lot of great products out there. So you really just have to, kind of look at the tooth. And again, I'd have to see the patient. We'd have to kind of look together, but there's a lot of courses on that now that you can get. Catapult's got some great courses coming up on that very subject. So definitely check that out.
Where can we get potassium nitrate to sell in the office?
Oh, Ultradent. Ultradent has it. They've got the syringes and the pre-filled trays. And if you don't know who your rep is, let us help you find out who that is. They'll bring you some and show you how to use it. But it's my number one seller. No joke. I mean, that and toothpaste, the whitening toothpaste. Those are my number two. You think bleach would be. It's not. It's toothpaste and potassium nitrate. And potassium nitrate really, really works. And if you're a team member and you use that, you'll totally change your feelings on whitening because that's what's going to really be the secret to helping you be able to whiten, especially if you've had ortho. They've got to have that. I wish more orthodontists knew that. They don't. Potassium nitrate really helps a lot, but Ultradent has it. So right there.
Where do you order your brochures from?
Well, I make them myself and then I order them from Vista. I did order some just a couple of weeks ago from Kinko's because I needed them fast. But Vistaprint and Kinko's are pretty much the ones. I don't go to anybody else to do that. You know, we can kind of do it in Canva and make those brochures. And if you even want mine, you know, you can alter it in Adobe. I don't care. But yeah, they're super easy to make. And again, you can just send them over there and get them printed. I think they're like $150 for 200. And I only want to do 200 at a time. I don't want 1,000 because I might want to change something and I don't want to be married to it. You know what I mean? So just make sure you don't do like I did out of the gate, make 500 and like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that and I got to waste these, you know. So definitely, you know, use Vistaprint but don't get a big, large quantity because you're going to want to change it.
Someone gave you a nice compliment. Love your passion and honesty. That's what's getting through to your patient. That's what your patients are quote unquote buying. We need to take a page from your book on passion, integrity, and transparency.
Thank you. Well, it helps when you got good products. So I appreciate that.
Um, Going back to the previous question, can you spell the brand, please?
Spell the
I,
brand.
I think that's
Oh,
for the potassium
oh,
nitrate to
yeah,
sell in the
potassium.
office.
So two different brands. The pre-filled potassium nitrate and the syringes of potassium nitrate come from Ultra Dent. It's ULTRADENT. They are actually the sponsor. You'll see their logo. They're in Utah, Ultra Dent. But if you're overseas, I know we have a couple of people. They also sell outside of the U.S., but it's Ultra Dent. And then the toothpaste that I'm using is from Ivoclar, and it's Viva Style. It's potassium nitrate toothpaste. But Ultradent out of the gate, they got it. I mean, they really are the ones that really opened my eyes to potassium nitrate. And that has been a game changer for me. I mean, really, these kids you couldn't even put bleach on their teeth for 5 minutes. I say kids 20 to 25. Anybody been through ortho, you couldn't even put bleach on there for 5 to 10 minutes on some of these people. That has been a complete 360. It's an amazing product. I recommend it for so many different procedures too, not just whitening.
What about Sensodyne with potassium nitrate?
No, that's good too. I've done a course for Sensodyne. Absolutely. Anything that's got potassium nitrate is great. But the one thing we don't really think about is patients are brushing, they're running the water, they brush with it so fast and it's gone. It takes forever to even have an effect with Sensodyne. And I said that on my webinar. I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not here to sell Sensodyne. They're my sponsor, but it's the potassium nitrate. But what I love about the Ultra Ease is that's pure potassium nitrate in a pre-filled tray. It's just sitting on the teeth. It's soaking it up. And you can't get that when you're brushing, I feel anyway. But most importantly, if you're going to use it, you got to tell them to brush and spit it out. When people say, oh, I use Sensodyne, that's great. But it takes forever to take effect. My God, we'd have to wait 5, 6 months. Just being honest with you. Go jump to patients ready to go, especially have a special occasion, get married. I don't have that kind of time to waste. I can sacrifice about a week to 10 days with the ease. And so, and I always tell people, it's like ease the pain. Ultra ease is potassium nitrate. The pre-filled trays are amazing and it's at its purest form. And you can't really get any better than that. And I'm like, listen, you can brush with Sensodyne till the cows come home. It's going to take forever because the human side of us brushes really quickly and we rinse and it's gone. We're kind of forcing them to wear it either in the custom tray or making them sit with that purest form in a pre-filled tray. And I just feel like it's worth it. They'll buy it too. Don't think they won't. They will buy it. I'm a factor of that. I'm shocked at how many people buy Ultra Ease. Incredibly shocked.